And welcome to the latest episode of What's Happening with me, Casey Foreman. Today's show is a look around the NFL. Kicking things off, those Dallas Cowboys. They're the hottest team in the league right now. And I'm going to talk about how they are just this close to being Super Bowl contenders. Then, Drake Maye. His run continues, and he's looking like the MVP of the league. I'm going to break down why, if I had a vote, it would go to him today. Then, to wrap up the show, the Kansas City Chiefs. They sit at 500 through 12 games, something that has never happened as Patrick Mahomes has been the quarterback in Kansas City. We're going to talk about if those Chiefs are cooked. But before we dive into our content today, our show is sponsored by Dubby Energy. Are you tired of the same old energy drinks and how they make you feel after the fact? Well, Dubby has you covered. They provide clean, safe, and great tasting Focus energy drinks only containing 10 ingredients. There's a link down there in the description of today's video. Go get energized and be better with Dubby. All right, and like I said, let's kick things off with those Dallas Cowboys. They're the hottest team in football right now. And in my eyes, they're not that far away from being Super Bowl contenders. Let's break down why. And I'm not even going to start with the league-leading offense, which is being led by Dak Prescott. Let's start on the defense. Okay, let's start on the other side of the ball, which has almost done a complete 180 since the trade deadline. They've gone from 30th in points allowed to 12th. They've gone from 31st in yards allowed to 7th. And the biggest one, okay, the biggest change, the one I am most proud of, most excited to talk about here on the show, is 31st in rush defense. And if you've been watching this Dallas Cowboy team for the past 5 years, you've known the biggest liability on that side of the ball is stopping the run. They have not been able to stop the opposing team's run game for the past 5 years, for the past half decade plus, it kind of seems like. Now, with Quinnen Williams, they're a top 5 rush defense. He's made an immediate impact, and then Overshown being back as well, the all-pro level linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, has made a huge impact. So you add Overshown to this defense and make a trade for Quinnen Williams, and now you've gone from 30th in points allowed to 12th, 31st in rush defense to top 5, and then 31st also in total yards allowed to now being top 10. That doesn't happen too often in the NFL. This trade by Jerry Jones, I know we hate to give him credit, but it's completely changing the dynamic of this team. And to keep going a little bit further, right? Not to just say, oh, it's because the defense has been great in 3 weeks since the trade deadline. That's one of the reasons. But then you think about the fact that this team now has 2 first-round picks in the upcoming draft. Right? So let's think about what they can possibly do with those 2 picks. That's the question. In my eyes, the answer is pretty clear. You go and draft an edge. You go and draft a player to add to your secondary, because right now, despite having Trayvon Diggs, despite having Deron Bland in that secondary, that's the weakest part of your defense. And then outside of that defensive line, getting to the quarterback, they've been somewhat consistent all year, but I would also say that's an area where this team could improve. So with those 2 first-round picks in the upcoming draft, you go get an edge and you go get a player to add to that secondary, shoring up that defense, which would then go along with, at this point, the best offense in the NFL, which in my eyes is pretty impressive when you take everything into consideration for this team. Talking about a new head coach, a brand new play caller in Brian Schottenheimer, a guy who's never done that before, talking about being a head coach in the NFL, in the National Football League, a new running back in Javonte Williams, and a new weapon up until this point, a new number 1 receiver in George Pickens. CeeDee Lamb missed 3 games. That didn't really seem to matter. So if you put everything into consideration here, the drastic improvement on the defensive side of the ball, the trade for Quinnen Williams, 2 first-round picks in the upcoming draft to go along with the best offense in the NFL, led by a top 5 quarterback in Dak Prescott, how can you say this team isn't close to being a Super Bowl contender? Right? So I've been super impressed with their play up until this point. I do think they're a few moves away, a few pieces away, most likely going to be addressed in the upcoming draft. And after you start the season the way that you did, all those losses, that defense being as crappy as it was to start the season, unlikely that you're going to be able to reach the Super Bowl, be a contender this season. So many teams are in the hunt to make, to get those final wild card spots. So it's up in the air that this Cowboy team even makes the playoffs this year, but it's clear they're building something. And as soon as next year, if they do the right things in this upcoming draft, I think we could be talking about them as Super Bowl contenders. Okay, let's continue on now and talk about a team that we used to call Super Bowl contenders pretty much every single season. That was until their guy Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay. Yes, I'm talking about those New England Patriots. It feels like I blinked. And the Patriots, though, are back to being AFC contenders. And for the most part, it's because of two people. Clearly, I'm talking about the new head coach in Mike Vrabel, but 50-50 right there next to him, I'm talking about Drake Maye. Before he was drafted to this team, I tell you, and I don't think I even need to, it was rough at the quarterback spot in New England. I mean, we were having legit debates over who's better, Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi. Is Bailey Zappi still in the league outside of being a third string, fourth string quarterback, right? So we were having legit conversations about Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi. Who should start for this team at quarterback? Now you got a guy like Drake Maye who's leading the league in completion percentage. He's third in passing yards, top 5 in touchdown passes, has the third best QBR and the second best passer rating, all while leading the best team record-wise in the NFL. How does that not add up to the MVP of the National Football League? And I know all the Patriot haters out there have voiced their opinion, and I do somewhat agree their schedule has been easy. It was voted on by a lot of NFL analysts as one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. But hey, you can only beat who's in front of you, and they've done just that. One of the things I've been most impressed with regarding this New England Patriot team is their consistency on both sides of the ball, and that goes along with Drake Maye as well. He's been a consistent factor under center all season for this team, and we know that's something this organization has needed since the departure of Tom Brady. So they once again have their franchise quarterback, and in my eyes are looking like they're just a piece or two away from being really, really scary in the AFC. And once again, Drake Maye, he's the MVP of the National Football League. All right, and before we move on to our final topic of the day, I want to ask everyone to get down there and subscribe to the channel, to like the video, and to leave a comment as far as your thoughts so far. Do you agree that the Dallas Cowboys are this close to being Super Bowl contenders? Do you think Drake Maye is the MVP of the National Football League? Get down there in the comments, let me know, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Like I said, wrapping things up on the show today, the Kansas City Chiefs. Oof. It is getting rough out here for Kansas City Chief fans. This is the first time during their run that they're 500 through 12 games played. That's a decent sample size. The reason I'm saying that is we've never been this far in the season before and seen this Chiefs team be so average, be so mediocre. And we're getting to the point of the NFL season where it's time, especially for this Chiefs team, to put up or shut up. Because I'm here to tell you, if the Chiefs lose one more game, they're done. They are not making the playoffs. They are third in the AFC West, clearly behind the Denver Broncos, who have been the best team in that division, arguably the best team in the AFC this season, and a few games back from the Chargers. The Chargers obviously had a hot start, now getting hit with a bit of the injury bug, so I think that does give Kansas City a slight chance to get up there in the standings, perhaps overtake the Chargers. They play them here in just a couple of weeks, but they're back behind both these teams, and they're third in the AFC West. Something that has never happened, like I said, this far into an NFL season, whenever you have Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce all healthy for an entire season. And then talking about their final stretch here schedule-wise, it's no walk in the park. I said just a moment ago, if they lose a game, if they lose another game, they're done. They're not making the playoffs, and it would be easy if they had a cakewalk. That's not the case. These final 5 weeks, they've got what could be the best defense in the NFL right now. I'm talking about the Texans. They play the Broncos and the Chargers, who have been tough matchups already for you this season, and you need wins against both clubs to move up in the AFC West standings and just the standings overall in the AFC if you want to get one of those wild card spots. So Broncos, Chargers, you got the Texans, and then luckily, they also play Vegas, and they also play Tennessee. So a couple of attaboys, a couple of give you games there. But again, the Texans, no walk in the park. The Broncos and Chargers, 2 AFC West rivals. This is going to be a tough stretch for the Chiefs. And my official prediction for this Chiefs team, they're not going to win out. They're going to either lose to the Broncos, to the Texans, or the Chargers. Yes, I do think they are capable of beating both the Raiders and Tennessee, but I think a loss does come between those 3 matchups, and that would mean this run is over. The Kansas City Chiefs would be missing the playoffs. And think about it. Okay, just something I want to kind of ponder before we officially wrap the show up here today. Did Michael Jordan's Bulls ever miss the playoffs when they had Michael, Scotty, Phil Jackson all together for a full season? And obviously what I mean by that is this team has had Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, Chris Jones all season. Patrick Mahomes arguably has the best receiving core that he's had in the past 5 years, maybe that he's ever had. And I've heard nothing but, oh man, look at Trent McDuffie. Look at Nick Bolton. Look at the players on the defensive side of this ball to complement Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, yada, yada, yada on the offensive side. And yet this team is 6-6. Yeah, you add all of that up, this Kansas City Chiefs team is cooked. They're not making the playoffs, and that would mean this dynasty run is over. Get down there in the comments section and let me know your thoughts. Will the Chiefs make the playoffs? And if they don't, does that mean this dynasty run is over? That's going to do it for us here on What's Happening. For me, Casey Foreman, I want to say thank you for tuning in. One more time, a reminder to hit that subscribe button, to get in the comment section, to like the video. Heck, send this video to someone you think might enjoy it as well. Maybe a Kansas City Chiefs fan to put a little bit of dirt in that wound. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.